Hello Flickering Myth family and welcome to our channel. My name is EJ Marino and we have a new horror movie review. I'm going to be jumping into the Slumber Party Massacre remake. Remakes of slasher movies are no new thing. It's been happening for years, but I can always credit it back to that Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake in about 2003. That really sent us on a new path, a new journey, and we are still dealing with the ramifications of that remake, though they've evolved in the last couple of years. Ever since that new Halloween film in 2018, slasher reboots specifically have been going a new route. They're either dealing with very real issues, either things like generational trauma, which we will talk about in this review, or just more kind of woke social issues that are kind of popping up today. There is a new influence of that, and I do think it's a bit interesting. We also have the idea that slashers are a bit of a done topic. They've been done to hell so many times. So what else can you do with it without completely trying to reinvent the wheel with something like Behind the Mask or Cabin in the Woods? How do you make a traditional slasher in 2021? Well, Slumber Party Massacre, the remake, tries to do it, and for the most part, I think it does succeed. This has the amount of gore that I wanted. It's a bit self-aware. It's very post-Scream. There's also some real topics dealt with in this film, but at the same time, any of these social justice issues are a bit on the nose. The dialogue, I know it definitely delves into satire a bit more, but it doesn't always work for me. There's a bit of a moments in here that I thought was a bit kind of cringy, but at the same time, that fits modern society. This was a very conflicting one. At the core of it, Slumber Party Massacre is a good remake that tries to do something new with this franchise, especially this franchise that has been a bit of a mess since the 80s, but at the same time, it has its own issues in its own way. So this is a conflicting review, but I'm in the middle of it. I had a good time watching. It's just definitely a slasher. In 1993, Russ Thorne attacked a group of people having a slumber party at a cabin. The only survivor, Trish, is a bit traumatized. 30 years later, I think it's about 3 decades later, her daughter is now trying to have her own life under her mom's very protective wing, very similar to the Halloween 2018, where we had Laurie kind of being very protective over her daughter. But the twist here is, I won't get too much into it, the daughter is going to a cabin in the woods to have her slumber party, but she's not as clueless as we think. She's aware of it. Her group of friends definitely know what they're there to do and have a pretty distinct plot, and I thought that was very interesting. The moment we got there, I was just like, this is not the movie I thought, and I thought that was the first good twist. Then we meet the males in the story, which is this group of men having their own slumber party across the lake, and they also have their own very interesting way of being there. So all of this is coming together, and I'm like, this is good. Then we start getting to the feminist stuff and the I hate men stuff, and that's like from the men thinking the women do, from the women. It's just a lot of those common stuff. I think of the Black Christmas remake that has a bit of the same feeling, though I think this was handled a bit better, even though this was more on the nose, even more yelling all these social issues, all their feelings in your face. I thought this was a bit more handled better because it was more satirical. It was trying to poke fun at a lot of things, while sometimes when you're making jokes and you're just, sometimes I feel like when people in satire specifically make jokes trying to poke fun at things, but then they start kind of falling into the same traps that they're making fun of. I always go to the first Deadpool movie. That movie was trying to mock superhero movies, but by the end of it, it was just a pretty basic superhero film. That's kind of what this reminds me of. It's really trying to poke fun at 80s slashers, trying to satirize our current state of feminism and woke culture and all this kind of stuff. I get what it's trying to do, but by the end of it, it just made a pretty basic slasher with some woke stuff in it. It's one of those, it's a complicated story, but at the same time, I enjoy the ride. There's twists and turns that I definitely did not expect. The Russ character, there's more to that, and his whole family backstory as well. There's layers to this cake, even though when I was just like eye rolling at some of the stuff, I was just like, okay, then a plot twist would happen, then a very gory kill would happen, and they would suck me back in. That's exactly what this needed, and I kind of was happy that it delivered on that level. My favorite part of Slumber Party Massacre is the relationship between Trish and Dana. No, we don't get to see it the whole film. Dana definitely goes off on her own with her friends, and her mom Trish kind of pops up at the beginning and the end specifically, but I thought this was a good conversation. Much like Halloween 2018, I love the idea that Dana's life has been affected by what happened to her mother back in the day. But she's not the only one there. There's the Russ character who did the attacks and the murders in the 1993 section, so he's back in this present day, but he's not alone. There's a character there that has to deal with what he did as well. Honestly, there's this movie this year called Mass that is about a school shooting, and it's about the parents of one person who did the shooting and then one of the victims. They're facing off with each other and what that does, what trauma does to every one of them. I kind of thought of that in this movie, of seeing what happens with the accusations that Russ had to deal with the trauma that Trish had to deal with, and how they passed it on to other people in their family. That was a very smart and interesting conversation, much like Halloween 2018. Sorry to keep bringing that up, but they're very, very similar in ideas and themes. I like that that was about Laura and what she did to her what she did with her family, with her trauma, but we never really got what happened with the Myers. If there was any Michael Myers family left around, what would they have to have dealt with by dealing with Michael? And that's kind of what this Slumber Party Massacre remake delves into a little bit with Russ's character. I was very, very impressed by that. It was a different twist than I ever expected. So I'm just I'm actually feeling emotions in this slasher movie. Yes, it is so gory and it's so over the top, and there's a sexualization of men and women. There's some naked men in this, and I was just like, oh, y'all really tried something. But I like that this was trying to say something real. I liked this generational trauma, this what happens when you are the victim or the perpetrator and what it does to the people around you. I like that way more than the feminist stuff, than the, we should listen to women conversations more. Yes, those are very important, and I definitely think they have a place in horror, but I don't think they were handled as well as the trauma section, which really won me over. Slumber Party Massacre Remake is here, it's in the books, and it's fine. I definitely enjoyed what it had to offer. Do I think it could have been better? For sure, but it's a Syfy original. You have to grade things on curves. I'm not going to compare this to something like a big Oscar-y contender and be like, yeah, no, they're so different. So for what this was, for what it was presented as, I overall liked it. I definitely was at first not sold on it, but as the movie went on, I liked it more and more. Definitely very impressed with this. Definitely would recommend for slasher fans, especially people who like the original Slumber Party Massacre, which had a satirical, which had a feminist edge to it as well. This is definitely the evolution, so definitely check that out if you're into this. Alright everyone, let me know what you think down in the comments below. Subscribe to Flickering Myth because we make videos like this every single week, and give me a thumbs up if you did enjoy. Alright everyone, let's talk about slasher movies and Slumber Party Massacre down below.